Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, something for families. Also, what happened to the gaming bill? And RIP 2024 session.
Doesn't matter what color it is. I'm sorry, Pop. I'm sorry.
Right in the toilet, baby. Right in the toilet. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey, y'all.
We had a once-in-a-generation opportunity to pass a significant gaming bill that would have brought in some 12,000 jobs, would have made several locations in Alabama tourist destinations. It would have given the state over $1 billion a year in revenue. And the House passed it. The Senate and the Senate leadership put it through a meat grinder from hell and gave us nothing. The people of Alabama need to hold the Senate of Alabama to account for them not being able to vote. That starts with Greg Reed and runs down the whole list of leadership up there who just screwed the people of Alabama on purpose because they're lazy and they're sold out to special interests.
Yeah, this is a classic special interest case here in that Alpha, API, and Sun Creek, Porch Creek, and there's a good reason for that, killed this bill. Now, the senators, though, are the ones responsible for it simply because they took special interest guidance based on the fact that a lot of these folks have other career ideas. They want higher office, and they need these people to be able to reach the higher office, not paying attention to what their constituents want, the people who voted for them to put them in office to do their bidding. They totally ignored that, even though some 90% of the voters in Alabama want to be able to vote on it. Where they vote yes or no doesn't matter. They want to be able to vote. They took that away from them in order to benefit themselves with higher office.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, this is nothing more than a confluence of people's ambition and the ambition of illegal gamers and Alpha Insurance and PCI, or not PCI, but API and people like that coming together knowingly to kill a bill that would have benefited the state and given the people of Alabama a chance to vote.
Yeah. I mean, it's all that. And, and I hope people kind of understand that this is on them. This is on the voters of this state. What has happened in this state is, whether it be the gerrymandering or the lack of engagement of the average person in the process, these people have no fear. I'm talking about the senators.
Yeah.
They have no fear of retribution. They have no fear of political fallout. They have no fear of anything happening to them because they know ultimately when it comes time for re-election, you're not going to vote for the Democrat or the independent or even the other guy that might challenge them in a primary that's who's underfunded because the party won't support him in this. They know that they have the ultimate protection in this thing. And until you change that as voters, it ain't gonna matter. It does. They're going to do exactly what they did. 90% of the people of this state wanted to vote on this thing, and they said, "Nah, we ain't gonna." We good.
And they took a really great bill out of the House and turned it into a terrible bill in the Senate, hoping that it would die. And then they went to conference committee, and the bill that came out of conference committee was so anti the Porch Creek Indians that they were able to take their guy in the Senate, who was Greg Albritton, who sponsored the bill, and kill it by one vote. Now, Lance Bell was supposed to be the backup vote. He didn't comply, but Lance is an idiot, and that's what he does. And so we fell one vote short, and not the Ivey administration, not anybody could whip it, because Greg Reed washed his hands and went home and left it to others to run.
Well, Albritton and PCI had no other choice in this, because when it came out of conference committee, it said on tribal lands only. Now, that's not really ever been the case before, and I understand maybe they were mad at PCI, but listen, let's be realistic here. They've always talked about having a location in Fort Payne or that part of Alabama. There's always been talk about a partnership or something going on between Victory Land and PCI in Birmingham. All right, this cut all of that off the table. So there's no way that PCI could get behind this, and who could blame them?
Well, I tell you, if it were me, I'd fire a bunch of lawyers and lobbyists for sure, because the track owners got screwed royal. But who got screwed the most was the people of Alabama.
Yep.
Who wanted to vote on this. And the House had done such a great job. And the Senate, Josh, had passed similar bills 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, they passed almost the identical bills twice.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it was. There's not been that much change. It just, people put their personal and professional ambition in front of serving their constituents. That's all there is to this.
Yeah.
I mean, that bill that came out of the Senate and the bill that came out of conference committee was meant to do one thing, and that was to divide the union between the dog track owners and PCI, and split there and make them go in different directions, because ultimately at some point they're going to have different wants and needs out of this thing. And when you start pulling in those directions, you take the lawmakers with you in those different directions. And that's just what happened. And it's a shame that they chose to do this way.
And these ones that want higher office are terrified that Alpha will come against them.
Mm-hmm.
They're terrified because they've got to win the rural vote, and they're terrified of Alpha. And for a minute, the House kicked back against Alpha. Alpha wanted a big ag center up in Jefferson County. It looked like the House was going to deny them that, but even at the last minute, Josh, they caved on that and gave Alpha exactly what they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I heard from some folks that they had a lot of good bills that were going to get held up by Shellnuts, filibuster, and also that the House leadership had made a lot of promises to people outside of Alpha about that ag center in Jefferson County, and I just it was nonsense.
And I have to say Shay Shellnut and filibuster in the same sentence is kind of.
Well, again, if you'd had leadership in the Senate like you did in the House, they'd have told him to shut up and sit down and let them work this out so that everybody got what they wanted. Now, the only hope of getting a gaming bill probably in the next 3 or 4 years is for Governor Kay Ivey to call a special session and keep calling them back into session until they get a vote. But we'll see what happens. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
My personal biggest pet peeve is kids who are not properly restrained, whether that be in a booster seat, a car seat, or even a simple seatbelt. Kids, they become projectiles. And it's terrifying.
It absolutely breaks my heart to know that something so innocent could be punished so severely.
Your children rely on you to be that person that says, no, you need to put your seatbelt on.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Very little good came out of this session for the people of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
There was a workforce development package that was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And the child care tax credit was a great bill for moms and families because it's going to give the opportunity for businesses to get tax credit to allow them to provide child care for the working families of Alabama. That's a huge deal.
Yeah, child care is anyone that has children or anyone that's around children like we are. No, the health care, child care is extraordinarily expensive. Now, what the state is doing with this bill is over the next 3 years, it's going to be an $82 million investment that will allow employers to take a tax credit for helping their employees with the child care. This is going to affect some 58,000 families in Alabama, giving women access to go back to work and not have to worry about trading their paycheck for the child care, and that not making sense.
And Josh, this was a bill that was pushed by the Business Council of Alabama. It was backed by some of our biggest employers. They understand that if you want to have a strong workforce, you really need to have a strong family that has, because if mom or dad has to stay home to take care of the children, or they can't afford for someone else to take care of the children, you lose a primary part of your workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. This was why, originally the child tax credits were bumped up under the Democratic plan at the federal level, and it was stripped out by Republicans. And it's no surprise that the sponsor of this bill is
A Democrat.
Daniels.
Anthony Daniels, yeah.
Yeah,
Who actually works for the people.
It's honestly, it's a fantastic bill, and I really wish that people would take a look around at what happened in this legislative session and the past several legislative sessions, and look at who is passing serious, constituent-focused legislation that impacts people on a real-life basis and solves problems, and who is passing bills that are only loved by window-licking morons. Okay, there's no contest here. Look at what's taking place. We literally got a guy from Rainbow City trying to ban rainbows in classrooms. I don't understand the hell we're doing anymore, man.
Now, Josh, I have to go back to what you said, because I'm very keen on understanding the psychology and the sociological definitions that are used to describe people. Now, is window licking moron or idiot, is that a technical term? Is that a sign, or is that a term of art?
It is. It's a technical term only used by people with advanced degrees to describe people in the Alabama legislature that pass bills that decide which bathroom you can go into.
And I tend to think I thought that was true. But you're right. Garland Gudger did carry this in the Senate, who has turned out to be carrying some, working hard.
Yeah.
But if you look at last year when we got the passage of the to remove taxes from overtime, that was Anthony Daniels. That was not a Republican
Grocery tax.
bill.
Food tax, that was Anthony Daniels as well.
At the end of the food tax on groceries, some of the end of it, Anthony Daniels and Chris England. And it's true. It's very true what you're saying. But anyway, we're going to have to move on to this next subject, which is always unpleasant to cover. Attorney General Steve Marshall, who is running for higher office since Bentley appointed him to Attorney General, is always brazenly challenging anything reasonable, because he knows that to win elections in Alabama of higher office, he has to placate the Republican base. So he
The
has
Wyndham Liquors.
that I would say they lick other things too, but you can't say that on TV. Bootlickers, I think they'd call some of them.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But what
Yes.
Marshall has done is he has threatened to block women and prosecute them for leaving the state, Susan, to get legal abortions. I mean, in other words, if you left Alabama and flew to New York City, which would cost you about $7,000 round trip for everything, you could get a legal abortion. But Steve Marshall says, no, he can prosecute you for that. But Myron Thompson, the federal judge here, has said a case against Marshall challenging his assertion can go forward.
Yes, he has. The idea now, Marshall will do anything to get a headline, and the more controversial it is, the more he's going to go after it because, like you said, with the base. But Myron Thompson said basically, you can't prevent people from traveling. That's unconstitutional. I'm sorry, you can't prevent them from traveling, and how is he going to know anyway? But Myron Thompson has said no, I don't think so.
I mean, in the opinion of the Supreme Court when they struck down, and the Dobbs decision struck down Roe v. Wade, it was Justice Kavanaugh who said, this does not mean that you can't travel out of state to get an abortion where it's legal. But Marshall will do anything, Josh, to pander to the most desperate, despicable part of the Alabama Republican Party.
Yeah, I think a big part of that was, the threat to also go after the folks that were going to help women.
Right, that's true. That's true.
The Yellowhammer Fund and some of these other folks, the West Alabama Women's Center, and other doctors and stuff around it, really put a damper on their cause and how they were trying to help women in a variety of areas. I remember the late Mia Rabin that worked. Who we all knew, that lady with the pink hair that would show up to all the rallies and stuff. I remember her telling me that when Marshall did this, their attorneys told them, "Hey, stand down because we don't really know what he's going to do."
Yeah,
we don't know. Given the way he's talking, who's to say he wouldn't throw somebody in jail?
Yeah,
but so the idea that this is not real or wasn't a real threat is nonsense. And they backed it up in court documents as well. They argued this. They reiterated the position. And Myron Thompson said it, just kind of defied common sense that they would hold such a position.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter when you are pandering and you wear lipstick like that.
That's about to say, isn't that lipstick?
You're going to say anything and do anything. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Mom's gonna love this.
Yeah, and you know what? She deserves it. She's a great mom. Okay, what are we missing? We got the eggs, the juice, the muffins, got the bacon, cereal, oatmeal.
Dad, nobody likes oatmeal.
Hey, I know we got chocolates for your mom, but there was something else that she wanted for Mother's Day. What was it?
Was it a new Bible? Look how worn out that thing is. Dad, gotta start watching out for these things.
I bet it was a spa day.
Bet it was a new car.
Definitely not a new car.
She's basically my personal Uber driver. We could both use the upgrade.
No. Was it those fuzzy socks?
Dad, you get that for her every holiday. She has like 1,000 of them.
Is it one of those candles that she puts in our bedroom? Hold on. Why does she only put that on my side?
What was it she wanted for Mother's Day? Oh.
Dad, remember what Mom wants for Mother's Day?
What's that, buddy?
The sleigh bin! Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
We clearly owe you brunch after church.
What you owe me is a nap.
Yes, we do.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. This session, there was a number of what we might generously call bills targeting voting rights. Mm-hmm. And this SB1, the first bill that was filed, was definitely a huge fight to disenfranchise voters, primarily the elderly, Black voters, mm-hmm. people with disabilities, military veterans with disabilities, people that were blind or had sight issues. Because what they did, Susan, they passed a bill that said no organization or no individual that's outside of your family can help you fill out an absentee ballot. Now, this affects hundreds of thousands of individuals who depend on group like the Women's League of Voters mm-hmm. to come help them fill out absentee ballots because they are ill or they're infirm or they have disabilities. Now, there is a court challenge to this draconian law that seeks to disenfranchise a group of people who are already struggling to get by. But this is just not only cruel, it is un-American and should be unconstitutional to be able to deny people voting rights access.
The NAACP has filed a suit against Marshall regarding this, and they endeavor to get some sort of temporary injunction at least before the deadline of October. I think it's October 29. Yeah. For the November 2024 election, so they can get their. This is all about absentee ballots, and so they're trying to get an injunction based on that, and it was called a preliminary injunction. I'm sorry. But anyway, this is on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Alabama, NAACP, Greater Birmingham Ministries, and the Alabama Disability Advocacy Program, because they want to be able to go and help people vote.
I mean, Josh, when you're telling people like the Greater Birmingham Ministries and the League of Women Voters that they can't help infirm or disabled people obtain and fill out a absentee ballot. How far have we sunk in the sewer of politics?
Well, I mean, pretty far, and it's all designed to keep us where we are right now. And to go back and look at the gambling bill, so you can better understand what exactly they're trying to achieve right here. Yeah. They're trying to make it to where nobody matters at all. So, but I do want to reiterate an important point here: this is about the application. Yeah. For an absentee ballot.
That's true.
The application for an absentee ballot. Who gives it?
Toss.
I can't cuss anymore. I've been
toss.
But who cares? Yeah, about somebody helping. If you go around and you say, "Hey, are you going to be able to vote in this election?" Well, here, let me help you out. I can get an absentee ballot, and let me show you how to fill this out. That's illegal.
No,
you're not doing anything illegal. You're helping somebody to vote, to cast a ballot, to have their voice heard. The hell are we doing?
Yeah, and what Josh is saying is absolutely right. It's illegal you have to apply and be approved to get an absentee ballot. What we're talking about here is the application, not the ballot.
I mean, but the problem is, like, we could not go down to the Etowah County Courthouse and pick up an absentee ballot for one of our neighbors, nor could we help them fill it out, because then we would go to jail for felony offense. I mean, this is just, it's unconscionable that we not only passed this bill, but it was signed into law by the governor. Mm-hmm. And it is just nothing more. It has nothing to do with ballot integrity or voting integrity. It has everything to do with disenfranchising a certain group of voters who need help. That's
also known as voter suppression.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to say RIP to the 2024 session, and that means rotten in all perspectives. This has just been one of the most awful, hateful, cruel sessions I have ever seen in the history of Alabama. And we've seen some terrible things come down. But this whole session targeted the most vulnerable among us.
Mm-hmm.
It did not help the people of Alabama almost at all. And it pandered to the worst elements of the state.
It did. It was all designed to, you know, the hot button issues, the red meat issues, they were completely obsessed about sex, whether it was the libraries or the bathrooms or, you know, who is a woman. That was all this session was about. It was all just to divide people and to try to, hurt some of the most vulnerable, as you said, in the state. It wasn't for actually helping the state move forward or helping, families like, the child credit or the child care credit or the EBT. Those helped. All the rest of it did not.
No, and add on to that just the workforce development thing, which helps businesses as much as it does working families. But Josh, all they cared about was placating that small sliver of the Republican base that does not speak for all Republicans, but they're the ones that show up at primary elections.
Well, there is another group. Okay, there's the funding group. They also care about them, and that explains your $7,000 and $100 million per family, and $100 million out of the education trust fund budget that's now going to private schools and private individuals, and so where we're just going to completely ignore the separation of church and state. But listen, this is what the people want. This is what the people want. They want this legislative session where we ban DEI and ESG, and in the next breath, welcome Facebook in. Come on in, Facebook. Come on, we're helping you. Help us spend some of your California money here. It's all for show. It's a political show to lure in the base, the window licking base at the bottom, and then to also while you're doing that allows you to placate the funding source at the top. And that's all this is. And that big gap in the middle where 90% of the population of Alabama reside, right? The working class folk get screwed over and over and over again by these people.
One of the things that I'm reminded of is that they will not be remembered so much for these types of mean, hateful bills. Mm-hmm. But what they will be remembered for what they did good for the people of Alabama. So very few of these people will ever be remembered. All of them care about their legacy. And I can tell you, in 20 years, people won't even know who they were.
Some of them don't even know who they are now with them in office.
That's true. Anyway, RIP 2024. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.